The BioBusters are down here at the Tom Ridge Center at the Science Consortium, to be more specific. And we're here interviewing Amber Stillwell. So, Amber, if you wouldn't mind, could you please introduce yourself and what your specific role is here at the consortium?
Absolutely. So my name is Amber Stillwell. I am the research coordinator at the Regional Science Consortium. We're located in the Tom Ridge Environmental Center, which is just a stone's throw away from Presque Isle State Park. And my main role as research coordinator is to coordinate all of the research projects that come in and out of our lab, and some of the things that go down on the park with all of our members of the consortium.
That's very exciting, and we'll get to some of the really great work you do here, all the different programs and projects you probably have going on. Can you tell us a bit more about the work that the center and the consortium focuses on, and kind of how the consortium is specifically related to the Tom Ridge Center?
Absolutely. So the Regional Science Consortium is located within the research wing in the Tom Ridge Environmental Center. And the research wing encompasses 8 different laboratories that we manage for all of our members of the consortium. And our main role within the Tom Ridge Environmental Center is to provide research opportunities and grant opportunities and education for our members as well as the other partners in the building. So the partners in the building that we work very closely with include DCNR, the Department of Conservation of Natural Resources, and they're actually the stewards of this building. So we work very closely with them as well as with DEP and other members in the building like USGS, Pennsylvania Sea Grant, and Purple Martin Association. And having all of the environmental community members in this building allows for a streamlined process of information sharing and educational opportunities as well as research and grant writing.
That's pretty exciting. So a lot of different partnerships you have going on here, a lot of different programs just housed, within this building. Never would have thought that, just driving by. I think that's great. Can you tell us about some of the specific work, research, or projects that are done in the consortium? Anything cool that you want to mention?
Absolutely. So my main project is focused on harmful algal blooms, or HABs, and harmful algal blooms are a project that we have been working on at the consortium for, I want to say 6 years, 7 years. We started testing in 2014, which was before the Toledo water crisis occurred, where Toledo had a huge harmful algal bloom and had to have their water shut down to their drinking suppliers. So we are fortunate in the grant funding that we have allocated to do that testing. And the reason that that is so important is because the lake has a natural ability to have the harmful algal blooms form, but the harmful algal blooms can emit toxins that are very dangerous to people and to dogs. So our monitoring for those projects enables us to provide real-time results to our partners like DCNR, but also we work with the Erie County Health Department to get those results out to the public as fast as possible. So that's the main project that I work on. But we have a lot of other projects, namely the beaches project that we work on, which is also a partnership with DCNR and the Erie County Health Department. We take samples from 6 Presque Isle State Park beaches every day in the summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and we test them for 2 different types of bacteria. Those 2 bacteria are E. coli and Enterococcus, which can't necessarily make you really extremely ill, but they can be indicators for more harmful pathogens in the water. So doing that testing every single day, as well as doing testing with the Erie County Health Department, where we test we bring samples from the beaches to their labs so that they can run tests there, allows this process of shared information and the ability that we can have to build a predictive model through the USGS that allows us to predict if the water quality will be bad on those beaches on a specific day. So those are probably the 2 biggest projects that are public health related that we work on.
So what do you, if we can follow up, if you don't mind, so what what causes these algal blooms to get worse? why would there be higher levels of bacteria in the water? Do you have any causes for that?
Absolutely. Great question. I should have mentioned that. So harmful algal blooms are formed by a type of bacteria called cyanobacteria. They say harmful algal bloom, but it's actually a species of bacteria that functions like an algae by completing photosynthesis. So these cyanobacteria are what form in the water, and they have always been here. They're older than dinosaurs. They can live in almost any kind of freshwater environment. But the input of human sources of fertilizers like that come from your lawns or from agricultural runoff, things like that, they provide an excellent source of food for the cyanobacteria. So in particular, it's nitrogen and phosphorus. The more nitrogen and phosphorus you have running into the system, the higher likelihood is that you'll have a harmful algal bloom or cyanobacteria that are emitting a toxin that is harmful to, the public and to pets. And as for the beaches, we're actually working on a project right now to determine what sources of E. coli are in the water. So there are many different types of E. coli. Most of the time, E. coli comes from fecal material. And whether that fecal material comes from humans or from dogs, geese, gulls, pigs, cows, anything like that, we're looking into what types of fecal material are in the water and how those are interacting with each other and playing a part in the closing of Presque Isle State Park beaches. So by doing that source tracking, it will enable us to kind of pinpoint locations and runoff areas that are important to restore and make a little bit healthier so that you're not getting that input of E. coli and fecal material into the water.
So where can people go to find out that information? So let's say I want to take the family to the beach on Sunday, and I want to know what levels there are. So where would I go?
Excellent question. So we have an interactive map that was developed by the Erie County Health Department, and you can find that either on the Erie County Health Department website or on our website, which is regionalsciconsort.com. And that map actually has all of the beaches information and harmful algal bloom information from everywhere that we test. So you'll see and you'll be able to click on the icons that tell you if the beach is open or closed and when the last time it was tested.
I was going to say, I wish they had that whenever I was in college, again, or maybe there was and it was just, so long ago, but I wasn't aware of it. That's great. Just given the current state of the world and the fact that for the last year and a half, we've been in this kind of the shadow of the pandemic, I guess, how has that impacted the work done here in the consortium, or how has that impacted, the rate of algal blooms, or, your work with beach restorations, or even the bacterial testing? Have you noticed any differences from kind of pandemic era versus pre-pandemic?
That's another great question. So the amount of people going to the park has increased. So that has definitely played a part in the amount of litter and debris that we find on the beaches. But I wouldn't say that we've necessarily seen a difference in the bacteria levels or in the harmful algal bloom levels on those beaches. So either way, runoff and rain and heat and weather situations like that are going to impact that far more than the pandemic surge of people going to the outdoors. One thing I would like to mention is that we have been extremely fortunate to continue our monitoring and testing and hire interns during this time. I know a lot of places were not able to do that, and we were so fortunate that we have such a great team here that was able to really put forth that effort to get our COVID mitigation plan together, get it approved by the state so that people could come and work here over the summer, last summer and this summer. So we've been very fortunate with our partnerships and allocating that funding to continue to do this project, all of these projects during this pandemic.
Cool.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any future projects that are coming up on the horizon? Any cool, interesting projects that you would like to plug or advertise for our listeners?
Absolutely. There's a project that we just launched this year, and it's called the HAB Spotter Program. It is a citizen science volunteer program, and I would I would love to have more volunteers join this program. There's an online training. You can become a trained HABs spotter, so someone who can go out and look for harmful algal blooms, and then you can file reports based on what you see through an easy to fill out Google form, and that enables us to cover more ground than we can currently get to. Having those reports is an excellent opportunity to get students involved in science, especially students that want to be enriched over the summer. Or if you have a place that you walk every single day with your dog and you're concerned about the effects of cyanobacteria or harmful algal blooms on your dog, then you can become a HAB spotter just by doing the virtual training and working with us to get signed up. We also have a Weed Warriors program, which is another citizen science program that's volunteer based, but our horticultural specialist has a bunch of volunteers that will work on invasive species management down on the park. So if you love to get outside and you're not afraid of ticks and poison ivy and you love Presque Isle State Park, this is probably a great program for you to get involved in and get your hands dirty and your feet wet in that invasive species management.
Sign me up. That sounds good.
Yeah, no, that sounds
Very
like fun, yeah.
They're both fun.
So I guess just one last question for you. What advice would you give for people thinking of pursuing a career such as yours? And what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring young scientist or researcher?
I love this question because the one thing that I wish that people had told me is get an internship, even if it's unpaid, because the only way for you to really know what you want to do is to try it out. An internship that you don't like tells you just as much information as an internship that you absolutely love. And the other thing that I would say that is very important is just for you to love your job. If you love to be outside and you love to do research, then this is the career for you. We also have lab components to everything that we do. So if you like environmental research, but you don't necessarily like to get, wet, dirty, and covered in ticks every day, then there is a lab component to everything that we do. And I'm fortunate in that this is a rare opportunity for me to do both lab and field work. So I would say, just get that experience, get as much experience as you can, learn from your professors. If they offer you the opportunity to come out in the field with them, or even just learn how to calibrate a piece of equipment or learn a new skill, then take that opportunity and just really soak up as much time as you can in learning what you love to do.
I know we said this is the last question, but I'm glad you mentioned the sort of lab component / fieldwork. Mm-hmm. And I know from having toured this place before, and we'll get some footage with you later, that you have a greenhouse, you also have a giant room with some giant fish tanks. Can you tell us a little bit about those and sort of what purpose they serve?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned before, we have 8 different laboratories, and one of them is an aquaculture lab, and the other is a greenhouse and plant lab. So the aquaculture lab has a fully functioning aquaponics system that has fish that are stocked in local streams when they are big enough to be released. And that aquaponics system allows us to do a little bit of experimentation on what types of plants will grow based on the types of fish that are in the water. And that is mostly tended to by DCNR staff. The DCNR staff also works with the turtles that we have that are present in the aquaculture lab. So we are fortunate enough to have the ability to care for some local turtles, and I can show those to you guys later, but those local species are species of turtles that people don't really get to see when they're out on the park. You will definitely see map turtles when you're out there, but you don't always get to see things like eastern box turtles or musk turtles because they're very elusive. So we have that whole lab there that's, very dirty and messy, but we really, really love to take people through there and show them the different projects that we can work on in there. And as for our greenhouse and plant lab, our horticultural specialist, she actually grows native species from seeds that she collects on the park. So her main motto is on the park for the park. These native species enable us to eradicate the invasive species a little bit faster because we can replace the invasive plant species with the natives as we remove the invasives. And that concept is fairly new to restoration in general. So the fact that we can do it all here on the park for the park in our greenhouse is exceptional.
That's fantastic. Well, on behalf of us as well as our listeners, we just want to thank you for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy day to give us this interview. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface, and so I'll speak for the BioBusters and our listeners again by saying we'd love to have you back on for a future episode. We could even do a profile on, one of your upcoming specific projects, a few profiles. Basically, we're inviting ourselves back to do an interview with you. So, thanks again,
And anything else you want to tell us that we didn't ask?
I don't think so. If you have more information, or if you want more information, please always feel free to reach out to us. You know where to find us at the Tom Ridge Environmental Center. And our website is REG Sci Consort.com. So anything that you want to learn more about us, you can find it there, and we're always here. And thank you guys for the interview, and we would love to have you back anytime.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.